And this here reflects what we're going to be setting up. So we'll be setting up a new virtual server with a new virtual address. And this will be the new IP, which is 10.254.1.12, but listening on port 443, the application for HTTPS. And this IP will be associated to this domain name of www.routhub.local. The certificate that we will be creating will be using this domain name, so that is very important. But the encryption will only happen between the client and the WAN-facing interface, the virtual address of the Big IP appliance. Everything on the back end will still be using HTTP and will be using our existing web pool that has our 4 web servers. So use this picture for reference as we set up SSL termination within our environment. Now, before we do get started, let's go to our pools page on our appliance. Okay, and there you will see our HTTP1 pool that we have been using for the entire series that contains 4 pool members. Let's go and check that out. And you can see that once again, these are web servers that are only operating on port 80 and not 443. So that is what we currently have today. Now we need to create a new virtual server that will be enabled for HTTPS and will map to this HTTP web farm. Therefore, let's go to our virtual server page and let's create new. We'll enter a unique name. Okay, for the destination, we will put in the new address that our clients would use for connecting securely to our web farm. The service port will be HTTPS, and doing that will populate the port number to be 443. And lastly, let's go down to resources at the very bottom. Okay, and for the pool, we will select our HTTP pool. And let's apply our changes. Okay, so that has been added and it is currently available. Next, we need to go to the SSL certificate page, and that is located when you go to System here on the left, then to File Management, then to SSL certificate list. And here you will see default certificates, but we will create a new SSL certificate that will be used with our new virtual server. On this page, we will be setting up a self-signed certificate that will be used locally within our lab. For production environments, you would want to use a public certificate that is trusted by a certificate authority. I can show you that in a later video update, but the process to do that will be very similar to what we will be doing here. So from the very top, we will first specify a unique name for this certificate that will be used later in a created profile. Okay. And for the issuer, it can be self or it can be certificate authority. Now, self means that we will be creating a self-signed certificate, which will not be trusted by outside web browsers. And selecting certificate authority, this means that it will be part of a public certificate that will be used. Well, in our case, we will be selecting self. For the common name, we're going to input the actual domain name, which will be www.routhub.local. So this will be the actual domain name that will be mapped to the virtual address for our virtual server. So this is basically what our clients would need to access in their web browser, HTTPS and this domain name. We're creating the certificate for that domain name. So that's very important. And from there, we're going to go ahead and fill in all the other necessary details about our company, the location, where the certificate will be used. And here we'll go ahead and say Tracy, our location, our state. Great. And that is pretty much it. Now the key size will be left at 2048 bits. So let's go ahead and let's create this self-signed certificate. Next, we need to create a new SSL client profile that will associate the certificate that we created. So let's go to that page by going to local traffic, going to profiles, then going to SSL, then to client. And there you will see other default profiles created. And one of them is the client SSL profile. And the new profile that we will create will be based on this parent profile, which you see here. Now let's go ahead and create a new profile that will be used. We'll first enter a unique name up here at the top. Let's say client SSL. Next, make sure that client SSL is selected for the parent profile. Now by default, everything selected here or grayed out means that these are options that are enabled within the parent SSL profile. Now most of this we will use, however, the certificate and the key that you see right here, that will be different. So to change that for this new profile, we will click on custom over here for both of these. And then we will specify our self-signed certificate for both. Okay, and that is all that we need to do here. Everything else will be based on the parent profile, which is common for most environments. Therefore, let's go ahead and finish and add this new profile. Next, let's go back to our new virtual server that we created earlier. Go back into that configuration. And here under the configuration section, you will see SSL profile client. And from there, we will select our new custom profile from this box here. And let's update our changes. Before we test this out, the next thing that we will do is to export the self-signed certificate that we created. So we can import that as a trusted certificate that our web browser will recognize. Now, this isn't something that you need to do, especially for public certificates, and you don't need to really do this for self-signed certificates, but you will receive a security warning when connecting. And we don't want our clients to receive any warnings in our lab. Exporting the certificate is easy. So let's first go back to the SSL certificate page under System. And let's go up here to File Management and SSL Certificate List. Now let's go into the details of our certificate that we created. And let's click on Export. Then we will download this certificate to our computer. And very quickly, when we open up that file, this is the contents of what that certificate looks like that will be imported into our web browser. Next, we will import that certificate into the web browser that we will use. Now, we cannot use the web tool for my Mac, so let's go to a web browser like Chrome. And here, let's go to Settings. And let's scroll down to the HTTP SSL section. Let's keep going down. It's towards the bottom here. Oh, there it is. And let's go to Manage these certificates right here. All right, now let's go to the Trusted Root Certificate tab, which is right here. And let's import the certificate that we just exported. We'll browse and select our file. We'll say next again, and let's finish. And now that certificate will be installed and now has been imported successfully. So that's been done, and we can view that certificate listed below. And we can go down and it should be listed right here as www.routehub.local, the actual domain that is listed in the certificate. So everything is done. So let's go ahead and close everything out before we get started with our testing.